in preparation for the Olympics yesterday, falling to Australia 91-83. This latest loss raises even more concerns among those who think the U.S. team should be dominating these matchups. Prior to the game, our own Kedrick Perkins tweeted, "I got Team USA by 20 tonight. Don't at me and carry the hell on." Perk, your statistics are suffering, but I do love these bold predictions. You do swing for the fences. I'm not going to start with you, though. I'm going to start with Stephen A. Stephen A., things obviously not going as people thought they would for Team USA. Do you think we should be panicking at this point?
I wouldn't say panic. It's exhibition. It already looks bad, but it is an exhibition, no question about it. What I would tell you is that individual players should be on high alert. They don't, no matter what they say, they care about how they're perceived. They care about their quote-unquote brand. They care about a lot of these things, particularly if you're somebody like Kevin Durant, who I believe is the best player on the planet when healthy. The bottom line is that if you lose something like this, no one ever wants to hear about you eclipsing LeBron again. They're not going to want to hear it. Yes, it's exhibition. It's Olympic play. It's not the NBA. But still, those kind of things are going to be counted against you, particularly when you're piggybacking off a season in which James Harden comes in there. He's not in shape. Kyrie Irving taking time off before he's back. Playoffs begin. He gets hurt. James Harden's never fully healthy during the postseason. You guys decide you don't really need a coach with any experience, so you okay Steve Nash coming on board. So many of these things are going to be brought up about KD. To a lesser degree with Lillard. Lillard's one of those dudes that I think he's a superstar. I think he's elevated his profile, et cetera, et cetera. We all view him a bit differently than we used to, and we should, because he is a mega star. The flip side to it, again, is that when we look at this team and we see KD and Damian Lillard, but y'all lost, to some of the players on Argentina and Nigeria before that. That's a bad look.
Yeah, it is panic time. I mean, when I say panic, I don't mean run around like a chicken without a head, but yeah, you got to be super concerned right now if you're Team USA. There's a reason they've never lost 2 exhibitions in a row until now. Not only is the rest of the world caught up for a variety of reasons, they're getting better at basketball. It's the fastest growing team sport in the world. It's the best sport there is, let's face it. And as a result, the gap has narrowed. The rules favor lesser teams, like a closer three-point line. When things are made a little easier, it means that talent is leveled a little bit because you don't have to be as talented to do certain things. Okay, so there's an example on the margins that levels things a little bit. These international teams they're playing have 4 or 5 sometimes guys who are NBA-ish, sometimes half a dozen players who are NBA-ish type talent, either NBA or EuroLeague kind of level talent, like very high level talent. And more importantly, they've been playing together for years. They make multi-year commitments to their national teams. So if you were to take an all-star team in the NBA, let's say not all starters, 3 starters and 2 reserves, because that's the kind of team we sent. We didn't send Steph and Harden and Kawhi and LeBron and KD, right? That team couldn't lose if they tried. We didn't send 5 MVPs. We sent, some all-star starters and some reserves. If that team just got together, practiced for a couple weeks and had to play a team, even if it wasn't a playoff team, but an NBA team that had been playing together for a couple of years, they might lose. They might lose some games. That's possible. That's why in the NCAA tournament, a lot of one and done type teams don't usually win the whole thing unless it's a Kentucky team that has the number 1 and 2 picks in the draft. That's not the kind of team we sent this time. So without an absurd everyone on the team is an MVP caliber player type team, we're playing teams that play together and who want it more. And for the first time ever, have lost 2 exhibitions in a row.
Well, here it is. I'm not going to say it's time to panic because they have too much offensive firepower. They're too gifted offensively. I will say this, though. They have to get better on the defensive side of things. And when I look at the defensive side of things and watching Team USA, it's a reflection on who? And we have to address the elephant in the room, and it's Greg Popovich, right? In these last 2 games, he has been getting out coached. He has done a poor job of having these guys prepared for these games on the defensive side of things. And to take it to another level, I just don't understand, and I'm not going at Greg Popovich as a person. I'm talking about as a basketball coach, and being part of a basketball coach, just like we hold players accountable with their meter, the way that they address the media, and we talk about how sensitive players are. That interview that he did last night and the disrespect that he showed towards Joe Varden last night was flat out ridiculous. I mean, the man was doing his job. Greg Popovich, he should have been mad at himself. He should have went screamed at himself. He talked to the man like he was a child. When was the last time Greg Popovich done something? Right when Tim Duncan was there, Kawhi Leonard left and showed the world that I don't need Pop. I can go win the ring on my own. But besides all that, listen, here it is, okay? Greg Popovich has to humble himself. We watch all-time great coaches like John Thompson be one of the class act guys when it comes to the media. We watch Red Auerbach be a class act guy when it comes to the media. Y'all take light to Greg Popovich and those little comments he be making to the media and saying, "Oh, that's just Pop." I take it as a sign of disrespect. Just like we hold players accountable and say that they shouldn't be sensitive. It's their job to do the media. It's also head coach's job to make sure that they meet the requirements to do the media.
Well, let me say this to you. Greg Popovich has been truculent on a lot of occasions. And when I think that Greg Popovich needs to be called out is that in large part, he is the one who's instigated load management. What he did with guys, I remember an all-time story. Y'all have heard the story before, but it's worth repeating over the national airwaves. Because of his personal beef with former Commissioner David Stern, God rest his soul, they had a nationally televised game, and Greg Popovich, he hated doing the interviews during the game, and, you know, he hated back-to-backs, and obviously he didn't take kindly to those things, and everybody that covers the NBA knows that Greg Popovich had a beef with David Stern over that stuff. Well, one time they had a nationally televised game in Miami against LeBron and the Heat. And Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, and Tony Parker were spotted at a Chick-fil-A in Orlando. And that's how we all found out they weren't going to be playing that night because Popovich sent them home on Southwest Airlines. That's a true story, okay? This is what Popovich does. So
weren't there times they didn't even get on the plane to go to the city? They just left them at home.
They left Orlando because they played Orlando the night before. They went there. Now, so Perk is right about Popovich and what Popovich has gotten away with to some degree. What I would say to you, Perk, is last night is not a good example. The man, Greg Popovich, said, "Can I finish my thought? And then I'll listen to you. Let me finish. And then once I finish, I'll listen to you respond." And there's absolutely nothing wrong with him. No. I say he wasn't raised, he wasn't screaming at the guy, anything like that. He's entitled to do that.
No, you're right in terms of one person speaks, you listen, the next person speaks. Let me just say one thing, Perk. But the fact that he was talking about, the reporter was actually right about the exhibition games.
Well, actually,
the 54-2 versus the two losses, they've already reached the loss to it. So that's what he's saying. The reporter was trying to interrupt to say, like, no.
I don't think that's actually, I think the argument was your blowouts. Pop objected to the use of the term blowout.
Yes, because in the exhibition games.
Right, the reporter said, here's the average point differential in the losses.
Yeah.
And Popovich's point seemed to me to be, forget about the average for a second. Sometimes we do blow out teams. Against the good teams, under these circumstances, usually there aren't blowouts. That's the argument they were having, it seems to me.
Max, Stephen A. Miley, I don't even care about, it wasn't what Pop said, it's how he said it. And if you go back and look at that interview, he was talking to that man as if he was a damn child. And that's not how it go. I was raised up in a household where my grandparents told me, you respect the janitor just like you'll respect the principal. And that's not how that interview came across last night. So if y'all go back and watch that and tell me that y'all got this, that y'all seen anything different the way Pop addressed that grown man last night, then y'all tripping.
I've seen Popovich significantly worse, and maybe that's no excuse, but I've seen him significantly worse, and I found nothing wrong with him saying, "Can I finish my thought? And then I'll listen to you. Could you let me finish my sentence?"
He didn't say it like that, though, Stephen A. He didn't say it like that.
We played the tape a few minutes ago.
But it wasn't with that tone. He said it with a type of aggression that was uncalled for.
Perk, I'll say this. That at first I agree with you. He gave the Popovich thing that sometimes Belichick does, that Bill Parcells used to bullying the reporter a little bit. When the reporter stood up for himself, then Popovich said, let me finish, and the reporter wouldn't. I actually felt at that point the reporter was being a little rude. And Popovich said, and then I'll listen to you. And once he said that, I think it was all right.
All right.
Okay.
And what does Grandma say about the way you speak to me on this show? That's what I want to know, Perk.
I'm with you, Perk, though. At the end of the day, we're all the same. You got to treat everyone the same. It shows a lot about somebody's character. All right, we will leave it there. When we come back, still to come, wait until you hear what LeBron said about how many more years he plans on playing for the Lakers if it was up to him. You don't want to miss that.